Let's learn about the Louisiana Purchase and the Lewis and Clark exploration of the Louisiana Purchase. Let's start with this. Early America, after the American Revolution, we have the 13 colonies. We win the revolution, and our new western border is the Mississippi River out here. People begin to move west, the Northwest Territory, the Northwest Ordinance, 40 acres, little square pieces of land are part of the reason. We start to add new states like Vermont and Kentucky and Tennessee as people are moving west. But we kind of run into this Mississippi River border. That's our western outline. And people are thinking maybe we ought to continue moving westward. Part of that story involves the story called the Whiskey Rebellion out here in western Pennsylvania. A lot of that story is farmers have a really difficult time selling their corn they grow to people in their area because nobody really needs it. And it's too hard to move your corn across the Appalachian Mountains to the Philadelphia area where there are a lot of people. Those Appalachian Mountains are just like a wall that prevents people from moving products to the east. And so we really need to have access to the Mississippi River. This may sound really strange to our ears in the 2020s, but if you're growing corn in western Pennsylvania, it's too hard to get it to the east side of Pennsylvania. You have to sail it down the Ohio River, down the Mississippi River, through New Orleans, around Florida, and up into, actually right there, the Bay of Delaware to get your corn to Philadelphia. That seems crazy. How in the world can that be a better idea than crossing the Appalachian Mountains? Well, there aren't any roads. The Appalachian Mountains are not big mountains, but they're just too difficult. So we need access to that Mississippi River in New Orleans. Spain owned a lot of that territory, so we go to the Spanish and say, "Can we buy that from you?" The Spanish tell us, "No, you can't. We've sold it to the French." We didn't know that, and that's bad news because we don't always get along with the French very well. So we decide we'd like to make a deal with the French to purchase the city of New Orleans. Here's our president, Thomas Jefferson. He offers $10 million to Napoleon Bonaparte, the leader of France, for the city of New Orleans. So we'll always have access to the Mississippi River. Napoleon's negotiators turn us down. In fact, they kind of laugh at us, say, "What? $10 million just for the city of New Orleans? No way. You can't do that." But then they turn right around and offer us this entire territory for $15 million. We don't really understand why. Still today, some people scratch their heads about this. Why is France so willing to sell all of this for 15 million when they wouldn't sell just the city of New Orleans for 10 million? Well, it's a deal the United States can't pass up. So Thomas Jefferson and negotiators arranged the purchase, even though we don't really have $15 million. And there's a constitutional question about whether a president can buy big chunks of land or not. $15 million, a lot of money, but we make the deal, and the Louisiana Territory now belongs to the United States. Our new western border is out here at the Rocky Mountains. Trouble is, we don't really know what we bought. So President Jefferson is going to hire his friend Meriwether Lewis to go out and explore that territory. Now, there are rumors that there are woolly mammoths still living out there, 7-foot tall Indian tribes, places where boiling hot water just shoots out of the ground on a regular basis. We don't really know what we've bought, so Lewis is hired to go find out. He hires his friend William Clark, and of course, if a Clark is involved, it's going to be a great success. They're going to go out and explore the territory in a scientific way to make sure we understand what's out there. Clark is a map maker and adventurer. He is going to, be very, very useful in creating the maps that Thomas Jefferson wants. And the two together, plus a lot of other people, are going to accomplish these three goals. Altogether, about 30 or 40 people travel with Lewis and Clark. There's different numbers at different times. But their goals are to find a water route from St. Louis, Missouri to the Pacific Ocean. We've always wondered, is there a Northwest Passage, a waterway that goes the whole way to the Pacific? So find out if that really exists or not. They're to discover what plant and animal lives live in what plant and animal life lives in the territory, and do that in a scientific sort of way. What kind of biomes are out there? What kind of wildlife? What kind of flora, fauna, and all that stuff? They're also to document the geographic features, make new and accurate maps of the territory. They're not to be just average tourists. They're going out for a scientific type of discovery. You're going to take a lot of the scientific equipment of the day with them. This is a sextant that sailors have been using on the ocean to know where they were for centuries by now. We're going to use this on land. We're going to have to take a lot of camping supplies. We're going to be gone for 2 years and something. We don't have matches yet, so the picture here, they're showing how to make sparks with a flint and a steel to make fire. They're going to try to make friends with the tribes, so they're going to be giving a lot of presents to the tribes to introduce themselves, tell them they're now living in American territory. You can imagine a lot of the tribes weren't real interested to hear that. They don't think it's American territory at all. It's their territory. Going to take a lot of clothing along. Of course, if you're going to be gone for 2 years, you're going to wear out stuff, and you may not have opportunity to create new. And they're going to take weapons with them. I think it's really interesting that they take a long-barreled rifle that fires its bullet with compressed air. The beginning of airsoft or paintball or things like that you might enjoy today. Take a lot of medicine and medical supplies. Of course, you're going to be out in dangerous circumstances for a long time. So this is Dr. Benjamin Rush's medicine kit, kind of like an original invention of the first aid kit. Dr. Benjamin Rush was from Philadelphia, signed the Declaration of Independence, but couldn't really figure out the fever in 1793. But his first aid kit is something that was very useful to the Corps of Discovery. Finally, take a library of knowledge with them. Of course, their job is to find out what new plant and animal life and things are out there in the territory. So they've got to take the existing knowledge so they know what exists and add to it with their new knowledge. They start and end their trip in St. Louis, Missouri. Today, if you go to St. Louis, you can visit the Gateway Arch. The big, huge arch known as the Gateway to the West. 630 feet high. There are little windows up in here. You can ride a little elevator tram-like thing at the top. You can look out and see for 30 miles on a clear day. Illinois is on one side of the Mississippi River, Missouri on the other, and this is the gateway to the West, where Lewis and Clark started their exploration. Lewis likes the map, I guess. So wouldn't this be a great field trip to get in boats and start rowing our way up the Missouri River? This is a picture. The next bunch of pictures are from a video called Lewis and Clark Great Journey West, produced by National Geographic. So, of course, it has excellent pictures and photography. It's one of the links at the bottom of this lesson if you care to see it. Lewis and Clark spent their first winter of 1804 in the Mandan villages in what is now North Dakota. There, they pick up a man and his young wife to travel with them. Toussaint Charbonneau is the man, and his wife is Sacagawea. You have probably heard her name mispronounced your whole life as Sacagawea, but her name is really Sacagawea. She is able to speak several Indian languages that Lewis and Clark will need to negotiate for horses to cross the Rocky Mountains, which they won't be able to do by boat. Lewis and Clark are expected to send evidence of what they've been finding back to Thomas Jefferson. So this picture is them packing up some things to send back to Washington, where Jefferson is serving as president and anxiously awaiting news of the exploration. Lewis and Clark meet a number of different tribes. This tribe even calls them the Pretty People. Very difficult time crossing through the Rocky Mountains. The expedition almost came to an end. The starvation and cold and difficulty and stress and exhaustion. But they made it through. Eventually, they make their way down the Columbia River the whole way to the Pacific Ocean. That wasn't really part of the plan. The Oregon Territory was then owned by the British, and we were not supposed to be exploring there, but we really want to add that territory to our country. Beautiful, beautiful land, and some of it still looks a lot like Lewis and Clark would have seen it, 215 or 218 years ago. Lewis and Clark discover a lot of new animal species like buffalo, prairie dogs, lots of different kinds of birds, and all sorts of things. A lot of beautiful scenery. They're sketching out maps. Other people who travel with them in their group, York, who is an African American, Benjamin Lansing, an artist. Why would you take an artist? Well, you're supposed to report back to the president what you see. So an artist is going to be very useful to help draw that. Charbonneau speaks several languages, and his young wife, Sacagawea, with a young baby, is to be very important in convincing the tribes they meet that this is not a war party. It is a peaceful group because they're showing up with a young mom with her baby in her arms. So there's Sacagawea. She knew several Indian languages from places she had lived, and she recognized some of the way that Lewis and Clark should go through the Rocky Mountains. Also, we've got a little bit of American culture through our money. Before 2004, our nickels looked like this, with Thomas Jefferson facing west, like he's facing left. His home in Monticello. If you go there today, you'll see some of the Lewis and Clark exploration artifacts are hanging or are stored there in the house. They changed nickels on the back to look like this. One has a picture of the boat they used. One has a picture of the peace medal they shared with Native Americans. One has buffalo. One has Pacific Ocean. Ocean in view. Oh, the joy when they finally made it there. Lewis and Clark spent about 27 months on their exploration, returning to St. Louis in 2006. Most people thought they were dead. They'd been gone so long. You know, a lot of people think this was kind of like the first trip to the moon, where we don't know exactly what you're going to find when you get there. We didn't know if he'd ever come back. And a lot of people thought Lewis and Clark had died and were just not going to return. So it was a pretty great thing when they returned to St. Louis and found that there's plenty of new culture and business and trade beginning to work its way up the Missouri River. Big impact on America to more than double the size of the country, to expand our West, to produce all kinds of new knowledge about the West. So let's finish with this. The Lewis and Clark exploration is known as the Corps of Discovery, and they have a huge impact in helping us understand what's west of the Mississippi River, and also helping us wonder about how soon can we make it to the Pacific Ocean? Can we actually acquire all that territory, much of which now comprises the United States? So there's Lewis and Clark and the Corps of Discovery.